For more on the latest space development in Reston, Virginia, Keith Gowing, a former NASA rocket scientist and the editor of NASAWatch.com. In Beijing, Yang Yuguang, vice chair of IAF International Astronautical Federation Space Transportation Committee. Welcome to both of you, gentlemen.
My pleasure.
There are a lot of new developments recently, isn't it?
Exactly.
Mr. Cowling, we understand
day.
3 times lunar landing missions already since the start of the year. Wow, we are on a faster track.
Yeah, and then it's every day there's something going on. You don't get a day off.
For journalists like us, isn't it? Yu Guang, we know that 3 lunar landing missions already coming from the U.S., from Japan. What kind of fast track are we working and looking at right now?
Exactly. You know that it is amazing to have so many lunar missions this year, and also you know that today we are in the stage from the exploration to the stage of exploitation of the moon. First, we must master the technologies. So the 2 U.S. missions come from what we call the CLISP, or the commercial lunar payload services raised by NASA. But in a commercial manner, also you know that commercial space activities is very active in recent years.
Right.
But it is a great pity that the Peregrine suffered a failure because of the propulsion system. You know, for any lunar missions, because it must conduct many lunar orbit maneuvers, so the propulsion system is extremely important for every probe. So it is a great pity. But it is good that the SLIM mission from JAXA and also the Odysseus mission from the Intuitive Machines, they finally made it. So Japan becomes the 5th country which can conduct a soft landing on the lunar surface. And for the US, it is the first lunar lander successfully landed on the moon after more than half a century.
Right. What do you see is the most significant development in recent years, and why do we need to follow that path?
Well, there's 2. One is the development of reusable boosters that SpaceX has done, and China's looking at several ways of doing that. And the larger rockets, whether it's the larger Long March or the Starship or the New Glenn, they will provide cheaper and more frequent access. So whatever you want to do in space, the less money it costs and the more things you can put out, the better you are. The second thing, though, is the ability now to begin precision landing on the moon and also on Mars, or other planets for that matter. And so when you combine those 2 things together, you get the ability to do more missions at a lower cost, and you get more bang for your buck. You get a better mission that lands and does things. Instead of launching 3 or 4, maybe one crashes, one gets lost. Now everything seems to go where they need to go.
I see. Yu Guang?
I think the most remarkable improvement for the lunar exploration comes from the development of the electronics. You see that today the performance of the rockets has not changed much since the Apollo era. So, but you know that for the electronics, because it's smaller and more powerful today, so it is easier for us to conduct very complex lunar orbit maneuvers or other very complex missions. Today, you know that still the lunar exploration is very risky. We've already suffered many failures in many countries, and also have malfunctions in the 3 missions we mentioned previously. But you know that to make it easier today, every space capable nation are starting the positioning and navigation services in the cislunar space. So with this help, we can make it more easier and reduce the risk of landing on the lunar surface.
We see latest development of new technologies, particularly artificial intelligence. Of course, many of the new technological improvements are already being taken advantage and tapped into in the space exploration programs in various countries. How much do you see this is really transforming both the research methods, the research time, and the research ways, and the application of these research in the actual space programs that we are speaking about, according to public knowledge, of course. Keith?
Well, you know, it's interesting, as was mentioned, the rockets are pretty much the same as they've been. This is this calculator is almost 50 years old. This is my brand new iPhone, about the same size, but back then this would have been a super duper computer.
Yeah.
And now you can, you make them, So what that gives you though is just in my hand, I now have more ability to think and do things. And it's sort of like having many of the more advanced airplanes now. If you flew them like just with a pilot, they'd crash because they're unstable. But because they have very advanced electronics, they can constantly adjust things. Add in some AI, and you've got much more ability. And of course, they've had with one of the Chang'e Langers, they had a data server on the moon, and also on IM-1, they also had a data server. And I had my wife and I had a picture inside with some of our cats.
Oh, good.
So I have a little. Yeah, well, I would pay a little more attention to that mission. But the point is, you have data servers now on the moon with AI, with advanced electronics. And so every time you land a mission, it's not just land, take some pictures, take some rocks, and go home. It's land to do many, many different things, adapt to situations, do the unforeseen. On the far side of the moon, they went and found things that they didn't expect to find, and the rover had to be able to adapt to those new things. Same thing on Mars.
Yu Guang, your thoughts on that? The AI and other new technologies that's likely to transform the overall research directions and also how they interact with the latest development.
Keith just raised the example I often tell to the media. You see that the total sum of the capability of the computing of the Apollo era, the sum of all computers on the spacecraft and on the ground, the sum of the capability is even less than a very cheap mobile phone today. Right. So you can see how fast the development of the electronics and also with the development of the technologies from the Apollo era, our daily life also benefits from that. There is a very direct example from the movie Interstellar. You see that MRI is a very important technology to ensure the health of the common people. But the Apollo program, the transfer of the technologies from the Apollo do have some contribution to the MRI technology. And also, that today, Keith also mentioned about the SpaceX, but that the injectors of the Merlin engines from the Falcon 9 also benefit from the engines used on the descent stage of the Apollo lunar modules. So these are very direct and indirect examples which benefit our daily life and also the space field ourselves.
How much do you see that international cooperation is still possible in whether it's lunar exploration or in the future possibilities of developing technologies that would eventually transform overall the space industry, the space programs as well?
Well, Ms. Tenwei, you know that I am the founding member of Moon Village Association, which was founded several years before. Also, our old friend, Mr. Giuseppe Ribaldi, is the president. So, from the view of our Moon Village Association, all these missions we just talked about are the we can call that Moon Village missions, because that the Moon Village does not only mean something on the lunar surface, but all the spacecrafts which can contribute to the lunar activities in the cislunar space. So the what we talk about, the navigation satellites and also the observation satellites, remote sensing satellites on the lunar orbit, also we can recognize that as the whole system or an architecture for the future exploration of the whole human being to our human society. That's the point is that the more satellite you have, the more accurate for the navigation in the cislunar space.
Keith?
Well, it's interesting. The cooperation, it used to be when I grew up, it was the US and the Russians, and we were racing to the moon. There was nobody else involved. And it was politics, politics, politics. Now we move forward, and people often ask me, is there a space race, like with China or whoever? And if you're in a space race, everybody has to agree that there's a race. But here we are in the 21st century now, and we have cooperation, collaboration, all of this happening at the same time with half a dozen countries and hundreds of companies. And everybody has a different reason, but an overlapping reason for going into space. So luckily, if you can't cooperate or collaborate, you can always find another way to do things. Politics is still in the middle of this. And, if you haven't noticed, right now, the world is a little messed up, and the US and Russia aren't exactly best friends. But if you go to the space station, for a quarter of a century, it has gone perfectly smoothly. And so I would just ask, a rhetorical question: what's the most important thing we've learned about being in space? And that is how to get along. Maybe we should teach everybody on Earth how we do it up there. But more importantly, in the near term, we were able to find a way here in the U.S. for American scientists to propose to study sample. I think it's Chang'e 6. That's sample return. We, found a way to get around the politics, and now we can have some collaboration, cooperation here. So every little bit helps. It takes a while, but you do more and you do more, and eventually people realize that we really should just be, doing this all together.
Great idea. Yu Guang.
Well, you know that Ms. Tianwei, Dr. Charles Bolden, a friend of you and me, just mentioned recently that the space activities, the collaboration should not be influenced by politics. So this is true. Many of my friends from the United States agree that the China and the US should cooperate together, also include Russia and other countries. And also, that we today talk about the lunar explorations, which can benefit the whole human being, not a certain country. So in this field, all countries should work together.
Well, it's funny, about a month ago, and I said this on another interview, I was looking at social media and some pictures went by of an astronaut outside a space station working on something. And I was a little confused where he was, because I helped build the International Space Station, so I kind of know everything. And I was confused why, and I realized, oh wait, there's another space station up there. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. I actually get confused which space station is up there. And to me, that's an important thing to realize. It's not just one anymore. There's more than one. And there'll be more additional commercial ones added. So the more capability you have, the more overlapping interfaces, which if you look inside China's space station, I recognize the shape of racks and things like that. I helped design them. So you can move things around more easily, and you get just more, again, more collaboration, more cooperation, just building up over time.
Yang Yu Guang, Keith Gowing, thank you so much for both of you for joining us. A lot of latest development and good news. We're looking forward to more. Thank you so much.